From Washington, D.C., this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hena Zuberi. First, the headlines. Several Muslims win in Tuesday's elections, including an entire city council. Newly elected GOP state senator has been posting anti-Muslim messages. Youth climate activists called COP26 coal pledge a complete joke. Pakistani Hindus celebrate Diwali in Karachi temple. World food prices climb to a new peak in October. Our top story tonight. Several Muslim Americans emerged as winners in Tuesday's state elections across the U.S. Although Virginia faced a red wave, Sam Rasool was re-elected to the Virginia House representing District 11. In Michigan, voters elected two Muslim mayors. Abdullah Hammoud became the first Lebanese American to lead Dearborn, and Amir Ghalib, the first Yemeni American immigrant to hold the top job in Hamtramck. Starting in January, Hamtramck City Council will be composed entirely of Muslims. This is after three Muslim candidates won in Tuesday's election. They will join three current Muslim city council members. This is likely the first time this has happened in U.S. history. In addition, Shahana Hanif became the first Bangladeshi and Muslim American woman elected to New York City Council. Tanya Fernandez Anderson is the first Muslim American and the first African immigrant elected to Boston City Council. And Shaima Haider became the first Pakistani American to be elected to the New Jersey State Legislature. New Jersey's Senate member-elect Edward Durr solidified a stunning election victory over State Senate President Steve Sweeney in Tuesday's election. But a September 2019 tweet has landed him in hot water. In it, he labeled Islam a false religion and used disrespectful terms for Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He has also expressed bigoted views about women and African Americans. The New Jersey chapter of Council of American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has condemned his remarks and called for a meeting with Durr. The Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction says 91% of aid provided to 60 audited projects was wasted or misallocated. Special Inspector General John Subko said there have been numerous attempts to impede his work. He said U.S. agencies have not made honest reporting easy for his agency. A 2021 Inspector General audit found $723.8 million of 60 U.S. infrastructure projects in Afghanistan had gone towards unused or abandoned assets. The United States is continuing efforts to deploy military bases in a country neighboring Afghanistan. That's according to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who was interviewed by Russian TV. Lavrov said proposals have been sent to Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan. However, they were rejected by leaders in those countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. President Joe Biden discussed the issue at the Geneva summit last June, Lavrov said. Syed Ishaq Gilani, head of the National Solidarity Movement of Afghanistan, told Tolo News that while the bases would be used to fight Al-Qaeda and ISIS, ultimately Afghans would suffer. Global CO2 emissions are set to rebound to pre-pandemic levels next year, according to an assessment published on Thursday. It comes amid countries making pledges to cut fossil fuels, criticized by climate campaigners as too vague. The grim emissions assessment was billed as a reality check for nations gathered at the COP26 summit in Glasgow this week. The conference was seen as a last chance to halt catastrophic climate change. Its moderate progress was checked by the release of the Global Carbon Project's annual report. It showed emissions from gas and coal will rise in 2021 by more than the dip during the pandemic. Polish climate activist Dominika Lasota had this to say.
I think that the coal phase-out pledge that was made today is a complete joke, and we see that the governments are just literally paying absolutely no attention to our lives and especially to the lives of the people in the global south.
Europe's top human rights group has pulled posters from a campaign promoting respect for Muslim women wearing headscarves. The Council of Europe released the images last week for its campaign against anti-Muslim discrimination, which provoked opposition in France. It's one of Europe's oldest political organizations with aims to uphold human rights, democracy, and rule of law. A slogan on one advertisement read, "Beauty is in diversity as freedom is in hijab." One tweet said, "Every person should be free to choose what they wear and still have equal opportunity to education. Wearing a hijab is a choice and a human right." Several prominent French politicians have condemned the message and argued the hijab did not represent freedom. But some Muslim women who wear headscarves said that their reaction shows a lack of respect for diversity and women's right to choose what to wear. The Council of Europe told BBC on Wednesday that tweets related to the campaign had been deleted. The group is considering a better presentation of this project, they say. In 2011, France became the first European country to ban the Islamic face veil in public places. For the fifth Friday today, Indian Muslims next to the capital city, New Delhi, were unable to pray peacefully. Hindu extremists of the RSS and its affiliated paramilitary groups have been blocking them from offering Friday prayers in Gurugram, just southwest of Delhi. Today, extremists actually occupied one Friday location by starting their own service. Here is more from Saleha Farooq about what Indian Muslims are facing.
Life is difficult for Indian Muslims, be it a famous cricketer or a small-time hawker, be it in Delhi or far away from the Indian capital. Here is a story of the last 7 days of October. October 22nd, 2021. Gurugram Muslims were attacked while offering Friday prayer. Gurugram is a suburb of the Indian capital, Delhi. This imam had to say twice a Hindu chant of Jai Shri Ram before he was let go. October 24th, 2021. Shami was abused since India lost a cricket match to Pakistan. He's the only Muslim player of the Indian cricket team. He was told to move to Pakistan. His captain spoke up for him while Modi remained silent. October 28th, 2021. Terrible reports are now coming out of Tripura. 15 mosques were attacked by the RSS and their allied militias. 3 were completely destroyed. The VHP, which previously destroyed the historic Babri Mosque, was leading those attacks. Several Muslim homes and businesses were attacked as well. No one was arrested. October 29th, 2021. Muslims in Delhi were attacked again. In the Delhi suburb Gurugram, they were prevented again from offering their Friday prayers. The RSS, the Bajrang Dal, and the VHP were all involved. 37 authorized Friday locations are being targeted by these extremists. October 30th, 2021. Indian Muslims have become the victims of India's loss in cricket. 14 young Muslims are charged with sedition, terrorism, and other offenses. They were accused of cheering for Pakistan's cricket team. So that is a week for Indian Muslims. But this alone does not tell you the horror of daily life that many Indian Muslims face. Many suffer without the news, in silence and unnamed. See this street hawker. He was just trying to sell some items in this village. A random Hindu lady with no authority whatsoever had asked him for his ID. As soon as she saw that his name was Naeem, She ordered him to leave the village immediately.
गाड़ी हाँको.
He asked if he could collect his goods from a shop. She told him no, again ordering him to leave the village. Naeem complied. He had no choice. He left the village. She also ordered him to never come back. The woman then asked the other hawker for his name. He gave a Hindu name but without ID. So she asked him to show his wrist. After seeing the sacred string bracelet worn by Hindus, she let him conduct his business. This is where some Muslims try to give a Hindu name to pass by. Some even have the string bracelet on their hand to avoid trouble. That is the power many random Hindus in India have over a Muslim.
Pakistani Hindus gathered at Swami Narayan Temple this week in Karachi to mark the Hindu festival Diwali, known as the Festival of Lights. They offered prayers while children and adults set off firecrackers. Pakistan is the world's second largest Muslim country. Over 2% of the population is Hindu. Here is Pakistani Hindu Poonam Dinani.
पाकिस्तान में रह के भी हम लोग जो है वो खुशी से आज़ादी से ये चीज़ सेलिब्रेट करते हैं तो इस चीज़ की खुशी है और उम्मीद करती हूँ कि ये अमन और ये चीज़ और ये हक हमें मिलता रहेगा जो हमारा माइनॉरिटी का है.
A campaign engaging school children to combat graft in government and society has helped Tanzania improve its ranking in the Global Transparency Index. In 2015, the East African country began experimenting with involving school children in its campaign against corruption. Holly Makungu, senior official at Tanzania's Preventing and Combating of Corruption Bureau, told Anadolu Agency that anti-corruption clubs in schools and colleges have helped cultivate a culture of integrity. Makungu said the organizations help nurture appropriate values and positive attributes among students and promote ethical behavior. Tanzania was ranked 99 out of 180 countries in Transparency International's 2018 Corruption Perceptions Index. In 2019, it came in 96th place. The global watchdog agency acknowledged Tanzania's scores have steadily been improving. World food prices rose to a new all-time high in October, the UN Food and Agriculture Organization said Thursday. The food price index rose by 3% from a month ago. It hit its highest level in more than a decade at 133.2 points in October, the UN body said. The rise can be attributed to a surge in prices of vegetable oils and cereals. The FAO Food Prices Index is a trade-weighted index that tracks international market prices of 5 major food commodity groups. World wheat prices rose by 5%, and the vegetable oil price index went up by 9.6% in October. China's firewall policy is leading to more tech companies leaving, according to a Turkish-based digital communication expert. Nabat Garkhanova told Anadolu Agency technology and internet companies are not pulling out of China because they're losing money. Instead, companies are balking at Chinese government's rules for protecting people's personal data, she said. This week's US-based web giant Yahoo and Epic Games' popular battle game Fortnite pulled out of China. Last month, Microsoft-owned LinkedIn said it will end operations in China due to greater compliance requirements. Meanwhile, Google left in 2010, and Facebook and Twitter have been blocked for more than a decade. China has its own versions of Facebook and Twitter. Its Great Firewall project compels technology and internet companies to comply with rules on personal data and imposes heavy penalties. The Israeli army on Thursday demolished a mosque north of occupied West Bank, according to a local official. Suleiman Dawabsha, head of the local council in Douma village south of Nablus, said occupation forces stormed the Al-Shakara neighborhood. They ransacked and demolished the 2-year-old mosque. It was built in an area under Israel's administrative and security control until a final status agreement on the land is reached with Palestinians. The Wabsha told Anadolu agency nearly 50 residents from the neighborhood attended prayers at the mosque. Coming up next, after the break, is our in-depth analysis segment, where we'll be talking to Shariq Siddiqui about Muslim generosity. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
I am what hunger looks like in America.
I am an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for the last day of school. Because this may be the last time I'll have lunch. Till September.
I am a single father of 2 who works 3 part-time jobs,
and that's still not enough to put food on the table.
I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
They took over my bedroom. Come on, come on. Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. Dad! You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. According to a survey, American Muslims are more giving or charitable than the general population. We shared the news in one of our previous shows. And now to discuss this in detail, let's go to Imam Abdul Malik Mujahid in our Chicago studios. Over to you, Imam Mujahid.
Thank you, Hena. I knew that Muslims are generous people, but I did not realize that Muslims who otherwise struggle economically are more generous than our neighbors. And I'm not saying that. Someone who knows and has done surveys is saying it. And that is Dr. Shariq Siddiqui. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Dr. Shariq Siddiqui is an assistant professor at the Indiana University, and he has recently been co-author of a major report. Let's talk to Professor Siddiqui.
Pleasure to be part of this conversation today. The really exciting news is part of our Muslim American Giving 2021 survey is that while Muslim Americans tend to be are economically poorer than the general population in the United States, they actually give more, and nearly 20 to 30% more than the average household in America. And that's exciting news because it's such a small community. In fact, while Muslims represent only 1.1% of the population, last year they gave $4.3 billion, which really which means around 1.4% of all individual giving in the country. last year. And this is an exciting news, and for a long period of time, there were. And what the other interesting piece about this is that 85% of all of that givings remains in the United States. While Muslims are a diaspora community, they give 15% outside to causes all over the world, like everybody else in the United States. But 85% largely stays in the country, largely focused around areas of poverty relief here in the US.
That's amazing. General impression which I might have was that Muslims are giving more because they are facing more disaster around the world, Somalia and Afghanistan and other places. But you are saying that majority of our contributions stay in the United States. What is the nature of these contributions in the United States?
Sure. So in the United States, Muslims give to houses of worship, masajid. But interestingly enough, Muslims give less to houses of worship than any other faith community. And prior research from Institute for Social Policy and Understanding has also kind of validated that. In fact, Muslims only give 24% of their giving that they give within the Muslim community to their houses of worship, as compared to 51% of the general American household. So Muslims give to houses of worship, to the masjid, Islamic centers, but at lower rates. Where they give at higher rates are issues of domestic poverty. So hungry in your local community, the poor in your local community, and so on. They give higher rates to civil rights, not just civil rights for the Muslim community, but for civil rights for other communities. For example, Muslim support for Black Lives Matter is amongst the highest compared to other faith communities. And then the third area that really stood out for 2020 was COVID relief. Muslims give nearly double than the average American household towards causes impacted by COVID. So for example, if you've lost a job, Muslims are more likely to help that person with their economic circumstances during COVID. If someone is hungry and needed food during the COVID pandemic, Muslims were more likely to give money towards that. If we need research related to healthcare, that was an area. So these are some causes. So these three areas really stood out. Civil rights, COVID relief, and domestic poverty relief were really important drivers of Muslim giving, which represents 85% of Muslim giving remains in the United States.
That's amazing. It validates some of the information which I had anecdotally. For example, the ACLU, they wanted to partner with us in a press conference because within 24 hours or a couple of days of Muslim ban, they raised more than $24 million. Probably not by all Muslims, but probably Muslims were donating as well. Same thing happened in a Chicago food depository. I was helping a couple of times, and they told us Muslim charity to Chicago Food Depository is number one when it comes to donation of protein and when it comes to largest number of cans collected. So what is driving these numbers?
Sure. One of the interesting things that is remarkable about this study is that Muslims are equal opportunity givers, meaning that Muslims are just as likely to give to Muslim-led causes as they are to causes that are led by secular or people of other faiths. And what this tells us about this group, largely if you look at, we researched on motivations of giving, and ultimately Muslims wanted to help people that were less fortunate, and compassion was the number one driver of Muslim philanthropy. And so when we think about that, Muslim Americans, they look at the problem they want to solve, look around to see who is best equipped to solve that problem and who's willing to engage with them. And then they connect and make those donations. So organizations like ACLU, organizations like your local food charities and pantries who are engaging and connecting with Muslims are more likely to be recipients of donations, because Muslims, Americans are looking to give to whomever they can to further the cause of social equity, social justice, and to alleviate poverty. I think the second part to your question is that in reality, one of the pieces that we found is that Muslims that happen to be more practicing or more that show that they are more religious are more likely to give than compared to people that are less religious in terms of praying and other forms. And what that suggests is that because in Islam, there's this really important emphasis of giving charity towards poor, giving charity towards people in your communities and to where you live. I think those things are kind of sort of coming through and are part of our findings.
This is simply amazing. I wish more of America will know about these things which Muslims are doing. But one of the things you mentioned is that Muslims in America gave more to Black Lives Matter movement as compared to other faith communities. While most of the Blacks are Christians, what are the reasons for Muslim community to be giving more for Black Lives Matter causes?
Absolutely. So as you know, Muslim Americans are only 1% of the population, but are highly diverse. African Americans, Arabs, South Asians make up a lot, and Latinos make a big part of the population. And within Muslim Americans, African Americans are a large component. So one driver of this is the fact that Muslims, there are many African Americans within the Muslim community in the United States. So that's one. The other thing that we find is that there is a realization that the systemic racism that exists in America, that Black Lives Matter is pushing to fight against, will help all Americans. So it doesn't matter whether you're Black or brown or white or whatever your causes may be. Black Lives Matter, even though it articulates the cause of Black people in America, they're exposing broad systemic racism that applies to all. So I think there are those three factors. One, within Muslim community, there are a large proportion are African American, and there is this belief that that treatment of people who happen to be Black is wrong. There is this realization that there's this systemic racism, and this impacts all of us. And then finally, in Islam, there is this theological connection between equality and equity and anti-racism that is also speaking to some of this support.
Professor Siddiqui, one of the questions I would like to ask you is, have you seen across the ethnic communities within Muslim community, how is the distribution? Are they equally generous, or there are some more generous than the others?
Sure. So I think that's a really important question. We aren't seeing at this stage, we've been looking through the data, but we haven't seen variations in giving based on ethnicity, whether you're African American, Arab, South Asian, Latino, and so on. What we are seeing across the board are similarities in motivations of giving, compassion, empathy, and so on. And we're seeing across the board connections with engagement around domestic poverty and civil rights. So we haven't seen major changes depending on ethnicity at this stage.
Well, Professor Shahid Siddiqui, thank you so much for your work. Tell us a little bit about your institution.
Thank you. Really excited about this work. The Muslim Philanthropy Initiative is part of the Lilly Family School of Philanthropy at Indiana University. We're the first school of philanthropy in the world, and focuses on upskilling and building up Muslim philanthropy across the globe through training, education, research, and convening. And so we've been very excited that we are doing this annual survey in partnership with Islamic Relief USA that will sort of look at the size, scope, and motivations of Muslim giving on one side. We've been partnering with Muslim Legal Fund of America to look at the challenges that Muslim nonprofit organizations face in America. We've also doing some research on zakat and sadaqah and waqfs and so on. And we're also working with the John Templeton Foundation in building a network of Muslim philanthropists. So, well, using research, we've also partnered with the Zakat Foundation Institute to sort of create a fellowship program where Muslims from all over the world can sort of get a master's program at the School of Philanthropy. We've added courses on Islam to our curriculum. So I teach a course on Muslim philanthropy at the graduate level. Dr. Abbas Barzikar teaches a class on Muslim humanitarianism. And there's actually a website that our students have produced called muslimhumanitarianism.org. In addition to that, we also provide training. We have been at the Lilly School, we have something called the Fundraising School. It's a professional development school. And we've been training nonprofit practitioners all across the world for 40 years. We train around 7,000 people every year. And so we've been spending time taking this training to Muslim populations and have had a really successful run there. So really focus on research, education, training, and convening power of the institution, and sort of highlighting the work that Muslims are doing, finding ways in which Muslim nonprofits can be better, and ultimately sort of helping build the broader field of philanthropy. We have a really important project called Pluralism and Philanthropy, where we're trying to see how philanthropy can be more equitable, and we're drawing on Muslim theology and past Muslim practice to sort of help inform these conversations. So it's an exciting opportunity for us. We've grown incredibly. It's probably one of the largest research teams studying Muslims in one institution. We have a team of around 20 people that are working on either grassroots community research or on these big picture questions, and just really excited about the work that we're doing and highlighting some really interesting sort of understudied areas. Muslims, we don't know enough about Muslims, even though Muslims globally are 1.6 billion people. In the United States, they're very scrutinized, small minority, but we don't know enough. And so we're really excited to sort of move the needle on that knowledge so that we learn more about how Muslims give, how Muslims smile, how Muslims engage in civic action. One of the things that we don't know about Muslims is that Muslim definitions of philanthropy are broader. Smiling is considered to be charity. If you're about to say and do something and you find that that's going to cause harm, you don't do that. And the implications of this broader definition of theology is profound, because it allows us to engage with more people in the act of philanthropy rather than focusing on the very rich. And so these are some of the things that we're working on.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Shariq Siddiqui, for being with us and for your work. And I look forward to seeing the study of how Muslims smile.
Thank you so much for including me in this conversation and for the work that you do for all of us. So thank you so much for having me today.
Back to you, Hena.
Thank you so much, Imam Mujahid. That's all from our Washington studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can find previous episodes and more on our YouTube or Facebook. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Assalamu alaikum and good night.